सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। The fifth mantra of the fourth chapter, page 173. अथाध्यात्मम् यदेतत् गच्छतीव च मनः अनेन च एतत् उपस्मरति अभीक्ष्णम् संकल्पः। अथ अध्यात्मम्, अध्यात्मम्, that which is internally happening. We have seen several times around how the mind functions. Mind is a flow of thoughts, and these thoughts are called pravritti. Thoughts, the word for it in Sanskritam is pravritti, or thoughts plural, so pravrittayah. That where these thoughts continuously flow, that is called manah. Why is it called pravritti? Vritti or vritta means that which is circular in motion, cyclical in motion, that which continuously moves in a circle. The way the thoughts function is it originates from inside, and having originated, it goes out through the organs of perception. And as it goes out through the organs of perception, it perceives that particular field of its perception as though touches it by the thought, envelops it by the thought. And as it envelops it, it gathers, it's almost like a scanner. It scans and gathers all the information and comes back to the mind. So, constantly there are five different loops: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the skin. Constantly there are these loops. And because it forms a loop, the vritta, prakarshena prakatita vrittayah, therefore pravritti, that which expresses forth consistently again and again to the field of objects to perceive them, and having perceived again goes back to interact with it with the organs of action. Therefore the thought is called pravritti. This is how the mind functions. This constantly, this is how it functions. And it is made for that purpose. One of the purposes is that it gathers information. So now, today, in this generation, people claiming information overload. And in my opinion, I would call it a misnomer. Information has always kept flooding us, not trickling, has always flooded us consistently. See, when you live in the other countries like Australia or US, whenever people would come from the other countries, there were a lot of them that would come for yatra and other things. The first thing that those Americans would say, because there it is all tapered to look in one order. There has to be long, there has to be this sizes of different communities, and where there are shops, the strip malls, or that where there are businesses, there are tall buildings. You have seen this, you have seen it all. That is how entire America is. Of course, the roads, cemented roads all across. Cut, paste, repeat. This is how it will look. And all of the walls, all of the construction, all of the expression is uniform. When they come to India, they're zapped. Why? No two houses look the same color. And as you go through various cities, each city has a different flavor. It is not just tie and suit wherever you go. Different kinds of clothing, different colors of clothing. And food is not orchestrated. It is more like a tandava. The colors, the smell, the taste. And most of them, when they taste our food, the flavors are exploding in my mouth. This is the expression that they give. The information always is received, always is processed. There is nothing new, nothing overload of it. Because that is how the mind functions. If we understand it, unnecessary agitation for a seeker saying, my mind is going everywhere. Well, but that is how it functions. और क्या चाहिए? Congratulations, you have a very good, robust, functional mind. That is how it should work. It is not the problem of the mind. How do I process it? How do I filter it? How do I discriminate that which is required, that which is not required? Exhaust that which is not required out, dump it out, that which is required, you use it. And as simple as said, it is not that simple. Because our filtering system is pretty bad. We can't distinguish between, maybe it is because of our Indian mind. Nothing is thrown out. Paper is collected, plastic is collected. In the cupboards, you will find the plastic. Under the bed, you will find plastic. In the bags, you will find plastic. सब ठूस के भर भर के. Nothing is thrown out. We don't filter it. Outside or inside. So there is a huge clutter. And that clutter has to be removed. Decluttering. Discrimination has to be absolutely functioning. There is no moment where I would say that, I would not pay attention to it and neglect it. People think neglecting is kind of relax. Why? You are not being conscious. Nazar hati, durgatna gati. Not being conscious is not relaxing, it is neglecting. One has to filter it. Then comes the state wherein, within the thought process, there are that which is willed by the intellect, executed by the mind. These are called sankalpita. Sankalpita, that which has been, that which you have consciously decided to work on. Whatever are the repercussions of it, good, bad, ugly, horrifying, you should own it up. Why? You have triggered it, you have started it. The unwilled mind, that know not from where it triggers, I have not made a decision, but it erupts, it explodes in waves. That has to be consciously weeded out before it takes a shape. The moment you see, recognize, this is not something that which I have, should not become a sankalpa. Observe it, weed it out before it takes a shape. Then comes the mind wherein it is regulated, decluttered. A decluttered mind alone is prepared for intuitive inwardness. A cluttered mind cannot be intuitive. A cluttered mind is a clumsy mind. The lesser the thoughts, higher is the alertness, higher is the awareness. Now, if this process is understood, then presently, in the name of sadhana, in the name of abhyasa of the spiritual practices, I am trying to be aware of through the mind. But what is Kenopanishad giving us right from the beginning? It is saying, that it is not the mind that is trying to be aware of the things and thereby concluding or wrongly concluding that it has to be aware of the awareness. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha kena prana prathama praiti yuktaha keneshitam vachamimam vadanti. So when the question is asked, what is prompting that I be aware of everything? Can this mind be aware of itself, its source? There is something, but I seem to fail to understand how to be aware of that which is bringing in the awareness into the mind. And that is a tricky situation. Why is it a tricky situation? That which is empowering it, being aware, being conscious, is not the quality or the attribute of the mind. It is a borrowed entity. And even in its borrowing, it is this second hand or third hand borrowing. How is it second hand or third hand borrowing? Conscious principle is verily the awareness. The reflected consciousness is borrowing it from conscious principle. Identified with that reflection, there is an ahankara which is borrowing it. The intellect has borrowed it. From the intellect, the mind is borrowing it. कितने लेयर हो गए? Too many. Meaning, being conscious is not the very nature of the mind. Why? It is made up of matter. Mind is also made up of matter. Apanchikrita Panchamahabhutat. From the Apanchikrita Panchamahabhuta, the Sattvikamsha is the Antakarana. Wherever you hear, whether it is Panchikrita or Apanchikrita, Panchikrita, the Panchamahabhutayaha. What are Panchamahabhutayaha? Antimatter. The subtlest layer of matter is the mind. Therefore, I have often repeated that we cannot name that Ishvara or that Paramatma as a supreme energy. Paramatma or Ishvara cannot be called or referred to as energy. Energy is the subtlest form of matter. So what is that Ishvara? Ishvara is not Shakti. Ishvara is Shaktiman. The one who is endowed with that Shakti, who can regulate and channelize that Shakti. And let that sink in. Energy is also matter. Thought is also matter. So to be conscious, to be awareful is not the quality of the mind. What is the tussle? So far, to recognize and validate every single experience with the borrowed attribute of recognizing and being aware, I have used my mind and intellect. Now, through that intellect, I want to be aware of the awareness. The famous dialogue. ये मुमकिन ही नहीं, sorry, मुश्किल ही नहीं, नामुमकिन है. It is not just difficult, it is impossible. As long as we are stuck here, the tussle never ends. The mind has to come to accept, the intellect has to come to accept its own limitation. Am I getting across? Are we on same page on this? Otherwise, the whole Upanishad wouldn't have served its purpose. Are we clear? Yes? Now let's come to the mantra, if these principles are understood. Specifically because you had asked that question yesterday. Are we clear? Ha. Now, what does the mantra say? We see the mind as a trouble. We see the thoughts as the trouble. Therefore, yesterday I asked, do you feel that the mind, your own mind, our own mind for ourselves, is it a friend or is it a foe? Uddhared atmanatmanam na atmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. The antakarana can become our friend. The antakarana can become our enemy. To make it a friend or to make it an enemy, the choice is ours. It can become a friend if it is decluttered. Meaning filtering system, the discriminatory system should be robust. Everything that goes in has to have filter and has to have an approval from me, the deciding factor, the intellect, that this is valid enough to be entertained inside. Otherwise, delete, discard mercilessly. One should not have any kind of mercy in those things that which we know will go inside to be only be turbulent inside. का है? In Telugu they would say, చీమ పుట్టలో వేలు పెట్టనేలా కుట్టిందని అడవనేలా. Why put your finger in the ant hole and then cry, oh it is hurting? तो हाथ निकालो ना. Allowing it inside and then say I am so disturbed. Why are you allowing it? Aren't you the conscious being? Aren't you the deciding factor? Supposing you don't like karele ki sabji. Why? Kadwa hai. Bitter. And if somebody is trying to force that onto your plate, how vehemently do you protest? Nahi matlab nahi. Don't you? This is at least likes and dislikes. If you are allergic to some food, Vichitra, the kids that I know in America, they are allergic to peanuts. Probably because they are genetically modified or whatever it be. Right from young age, they are allergic. Right at what? First grade, second grade, they're very conscious. They will ask, Swamiji, in this prasad, are there any nuts? Because I will go nuts if there are nuts. If you are allergic to it, what do? You stop it. Third, I'm going level by level. One is that which I don't like. Second, that which I am allergic to. Third, it is poison. Would you say अब शुरू कर दिया है, थोड़ा तो खा ही लेता हूं. Would you? You would stop it right there, filter it out, and not consume it at all. The world is like that. All the sensory perceptions that are perceived, you will have to understand through your own processing what is required, what is not required. That which you know constantly will agitate you. Why entertain? If you want to delete it from the system, Control, Alt, Del. Not even want it anywhere in the system. Decluttering is a must. And that decluttered mind, whenever there is a thought and a sankalpa taken, there is a thought movement. And in that thought movement, how consciously one should be functioning. So here the word that is used, abhikshnam upasmarati sankalpaha. Abhikshnam. The sankalpa is on, it continues sustaining itself, and then it concludes. On and off, abhikshnam. Upasmarati, it is a continuous process. As it continues from the source, rises up, and then falls back, don't first of all resist it. There is no ocean in the world where there are no waves. Waves will be there. When you find that even in lakes there are waves, what to talk about the ocean? In the ashram in Dallas, which called Chinmay Mangalam, there is like a 15-acre lake. Beautiful. You can see both sunrise and sunset on that lake. Spectacular every single day. More so spectacular when the entire lake in the morning, when I used to take the students onto the deck for the early morning classes or meditation, the lake would be rippleless, still, and in that the sky is beautiful, reflection is equally beautiful. Whenever a thought rises, it rises from that stillness within. And when it ends, it concludes, it has to merge back into that stillness. Where am I positioning myself? For a regular person, we are always positioned in the emotion, in the feeling, in the thought, in the movement, in the idea. We don't have a locus standi within from where I can observe the thoughts. That has never been a practice. When this, in the earlier mantra, the upasana or the meditative pointer that was given, that you find that stillness within the core of your own being and settle in. Let that intellect merge in it, soak in it. How would you know that it is soaking in? That which is my paripurna ananda nature, it reflects as ananda in the intellect. And this ananda is not like the other ananda which have karana for it. This is akarana ananda. That is on the seat of meditation. How long? 15 minutes? 1-2 घंटे? Then you're off. The intensity of it may drag into your day-to-day vyavahara for a while. Beyond that, again the mind, its own movements. Now, this abhyasa which we are doing on the seat of meditation has to be implemented or practiced even in vyavahara. So that sanctum that which you are creating within the platform that you are creating of that stillness, being there, you function or let the mind function in the world of happenings. That you, the awareness, allow the thought transaction to occur, sustain, conclude. When it merges back into that stillness within. Identified with mind, it is constantly agitated format. There will never be peace. This silence within, the conscious silence within, is verily the nature of Ananda. You are not resisting after being abiding in that Ananda any thought or movement. Why? Because you are functioning from Ananda and not for Ananda. It's 180 degrees. The difference. As long as I am functioning for Ananda, there is always the mind playing its tricks and games. How can I swing this Ananda through the Vastu, through the Vyakti, through the Paristhiti? But whereas functioning from Ananda, there is no more hidden agendas of the mind. It is Nishkalmasha, Nishkapata. If there is a hidden agenda, that my interaction with you is only for seeking my Ananda through you. How well do I trick you to give me that Ananda? There's constant games going on. There is some kind of duplicity, there is some kind of hypocrisy there. That this interaction is not for your sake, it is for my sake. Manipulation is happening. And wherever there is manipulation, wherever there is kapata, that's why as simple as Hanuman Chalisa, in the very beginning, what does Goswami Tulsidas ji say? Who does he qualify as Buddhihina? Buddhihina Tanu Janike. The one who is identified with this body, mind, and intellect has to be Buddhihina. Seated in, abided in my own true nature, which is reflecting in my intellect as Ananda, functioning from there. I am not identified with the mind or the body, but I allow it function, knowing very well, like the tethered bird to a branch, however far it goes, जाके फटफटाता है, it has to come back and land on the branch to which it is tethered. Similarly, the mind, I am not identified with it that it can take me to a toss and I start dancing according to its tune. It now understands clearly that the source, empowered by that source, it will have the movement. And as it merges, I am that source from where everything has been happening. This becomes, even while walking, talking, being, interacting with the world, a continuous format of meditative equipoise. Because in our Vedantic scriptures, we are not talking of that Jivan Mukti Sthiti only as that when meditated upon. That is the start to abide in it. Having abided in it, while functioning through the instruments, what is the clarity? Guna guneshu vartante iti matvana sajjate. The gunas of this mind, antakarana, is interacting with the gunas of the world outside. I am being aware of it, conscious of it, because my very nature is of being awareness. Once this standpoint is very firmly abided in, then with Vyavahara, I don't have any kind of problem or issue. I'm not scared of that Vyavahara. What if I lose this sthiti? What can be lost is the layer of matter which has movements. I am that which does not have movements. I am that in whose presence movements can happen. Just because the movements are happening, it is not to be concluded that the movement is me. Just as when the fan is moving, to conclude that the electricity is the movement, as much that is a foolish statement, so is the statement to say that the mind is moving, therefore I am moving. Now, once this distancing happens, and you can clearly see that I am not it, does it really matter what the content of that movement is? Now, from that absoluteness of awareness, can there be anything which is not kalyanakari that happens to that mind? Therefore, they say that when a Mahatma who is abiding in the self, when their sankalpa happens, it has to be Jagat Hitakari. Because there is no scope, there is no room for anything that which is not Kalyanakari. Now, from this standpoint, when you understand the rishis, we would not blame, because we see in the Puranic literature that there are some rishis mentioned who are extremely prone to temper. One famous, Durvasa. Now we wrongly blame Durvasa. On to who, wherever he has shown his anger, what was the end result in their life? Isn't it that it has ushered them, speeded that individual to whom he was getting angry upon, ushered them straight to moksha? How can that anger be wrong? Whenever I go meet Mahatmas, I'm eagerly waiting for meeting that Mahatma whose anger can push me closer to my own true nature. Because rest of the karma siddhanta is I do, I suffer or enjoy. But here it seems like their anger does and I get the highest. Now, how can his anger be called as wrong? That also becomes Kalyanakari. Just because it is Durvasa and it is Kalyanakari, you cannot keep justifying your anger. I'm getting across. It is for that one that has been abiding in that self within, Ananda within, their expressions can only be Kalyanakari. Their sankalpa are fulfilling. Their just mere thought, their just mere utterance ends up happening. Not a magic, not a miracle. It is because they are attuned to that highest within. And that highest, which is the very substratum of all that which is this layer of matter. To their just mere utterance of vibrance, the entire layer of matter realigns itself to make it happen. Therefore, what should be our sadhana? Whenever we are walking in this world, whenever we are interacting in this world, how quickly can I come back to abide in that stillness or silence within? You don't need to constantly keep entertaining one after the other patterns. How quickly can you shift from the pattern to silence? Has that movement achieved its purpose? Done. Come back. That should be the practice. That if I entertain a thought, I don't need to brood over it. If that thought's purpose is done, stop. Not able to stop, we are at the other extreme. Now that क्या पेट में पचता नहीं है 10-20 लोगों को कॉल करेंगे पता है क्या हुआ आज one of the filtering system that I have for myself. When somebody says, Swamiji, did you know what happened? The 3 questions. I don't put it, articulate it as 3 questions, but the interaction is ordained around these 3 questions. 1, is it truthful? 2, even if it is not, is it beneficial to you? 3rd, is it beneficial to me? If none of these criteria are applicable, keep that with you. मुझे नहीं चाहिए. But स्वामी नहीं चाहिए मुझे. Why unnecessarily? If it is not useful, why entertain it? If it is not going to be taking me to peace, if it is going to shatter me to pieces, my mind is going to get agitated, why entertain? This is not running away from the field of responsibilities or experiences. It is to weed off that which is not nitya. What did we learn very beginning? What is viveka? Nitya vastu vivekaha. Entertain that which is nitya, that which takes you to nitya. That which is anitya, let it go. Well left. Don't entertain it. There are situations wherein, though you don't want to, but it is being thrust in that environment. Learn this skill from your children. When you are not happy with them and you want to give your peace of mind to them and you are scolding them. And in between, just to make sure that you are communicating to them and they are grasping it. You keep yelling in between, look at me when I'm talking to you, because you want to confirm. The child also has learned the art. This is what you have to learn. What is the art? The child looks at you sincerely, with the eyes overflowing with innocence. And then, though the sounds are going in, there is this cartoon strip that comes which is called Charlie Brown. And whenever he doesn't want to hear something, in his head, dot, 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 the cloud, which is the thought, what is he hearing? Wow, 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 wow. As soon as that child turns away from you, बड़े भयंकर डांटा है तुझे आज, अंदर गया हो तब ना. Same technology. When you are thrust in an environment wherein you cannot avoid it, right at the outset, give it 100% discount. Don't say it out loud. They'll get even more agitated and you'll be stuck in that situation even more. Internally. As soon as that nonsense is coming, discount, put a very interesting face on your face. And then filter it out outside. Another example, one of my Swami friends that I know, he says, apply the same Siddhanta which you do in Vedanta, Satsang. Only that which you require, you take. The rest of it, you drop. So you come back to another Satsanga, same thing is repeated, you are again, wow, this was good. But never goes inside. To the worldliness, it is the same mindset. If the world is disturbing, it is not that because the world is disturbing, it is because I have allowed it to disturb. If that becomes your principle of lifestyle, I tell you, you will live tension free. Maybe others are tensed in your presence. That is their problem. You are tension free. Now continuing. But Swamiji, this is so difficult. Every Shruti gives the seeker who is still yet trying methods to reach to this equanimous sthiti. And in the Upanishad also, they are giving that clarity. If we have not been there yet, how do I reach? So the method is called Upasana. So that is given in the sixth mantra. Repeat after me. Tadha Tadvanam Nama Tadvanamupasitavyam Tadvanamityupasitavyam Sayaetadevam Vedabhihainam Sarvani Bhutani Samvanchanti Tadha Tadvanam Nama Tadvanam iti upasitavyam Saha Yaha Etad Evam Vedabhi Ha yenam sarvani bhutani samvanchanti. Sandhi vichedata. Do the upasana of the upasana technique being called Tadvana Upasana. A very intense, dense meaning very comprehensive sadhana. Tadha Tadvanam Nama Tadvanam Upasitavyam. This very same Upanishad has in the beginning very clearly said, Nedam Yadidam Upasate. This Brahma Tattva, the self within, the core of our own being, is not something which can be achieved through Upasana. The Upanishad is very clear. Because many times when we begin this Upasana, we make that Upasana as our end goal. That Bhakti as our end goal. Bhakti is a intermediary step. Upasana is meant for taking you closest. Upa asana. Having ushered you to the closest, now that jnana alone seats you to abide in it. If you take Kaivalya Upanishad, Uma Sahayam Parameshwaram Vibhum, there the reference is given of Parameshwara, Parameshwari, the Upasana. Saguna Upasana, Nirguna Upasana, both are indicated. Now, what is the purpose of this Upasana? To bring this mind which is constantly entertaining different thoughts of themes or different themes of thoughts, to give it a pointer so that it can come to one focal point. Ramana Maharshi says in Upadeshasara, Ashtamurti Bhrit Deva Pujanam. The five elements, the sun, moon, and the star, to be seen, because these cannot be avoided. In the daytime, you have the sun. In the nighttime, you have the moon and the stars, and the five elements. Whenever our mind is interacting with these five elements, constantly see those five elements as implicitly that Paramatma alone is expressing through those elements. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is called the Vibhuti Yoga, there are pointers given wherein the mind has to associate itself with all the grandeur that you see, different aspects of grandeur. And when you see that grandeur, the moment you perceive it, the mind has to be taken to that point wherein this expression is verily the Ishvara expressing through in this particular form. The highest form of bhakti is when I am not just limiting myself to one rupa, saying this is what my Bhagavan is, but to take that aspect of understanding and see that everyone that I am interacting with is verily the expression of my Ishta Devata in this form. They made it convenient. They made it easy for approach. See, in the joint family system, the woman is the mother of the family, is the backbone of that family. If while doing her all chores, she can find time to sit and do puja, good. Otherwise, that Nitya Puja is not a Nitya Karma for the lady of the house. The man has to. For the lady of the house who has several chores. And what was it made easy to such one? Is it? Cook. All this cooking is for your Ishtadevata that are expressing in the form of all these beings that who you have to feed. That is your offering of Naivedya to that Ishtadevata. Every act, every karma is transformed into a process of upasana. Yad yad karma karomi tattadakhilam shambho tavaradhanam. Whatever acts that I am performing, it should convert to be the aradhana of my Ishtadevata. If I am a doctor, I am seeing a patient. Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj used to say, Gurudev's Diksha Guru. He used to be a doctor in his Purvashrama. And his word that he would use is Daridra Narayana Seva. That Narayana who is expressing in the form of this patient in his Deenata, it is that Narayana alone, and whatever I am medicating is the seva of that Narayana in this form. The attitude completely changes. The whole perspective starts finding rasa of satisfaction. And that mind which is constantly satisfied has least agitations. Eknath and Tukaram. One had a wife that would help him perform all his amazing sadhanas, constantly be helpful. He used to thank that Bhagavan in that form of his wife, saying, Bhagavan, you having come in this form to assist me to reach you. Kritakrityaha asmi. The other's wife constantly would censure him, good for nothing fellow, constantly wasting your time in this, do good for nothing, this is nothing, that is nothing, constantly kitch. And he would say, Bhagavan, thank you for coming in this form. Because of your constant reminders through this form, you yourself are coming. I have absolute vairagya towards everything. है ना बढ़िया बात? That is the power of upasana. Just like in the forest vana, the trees are densely populated. Similarly, this vichara should be densely intertwined in our vyavahara, that whoever, wherever, whatever I am doing is the very seva of that Paramatma in this form. Unimaginable transformation happens within. All your ragadvesha you walk out of clean. There is no more functioning from the standpoint of raga and dvesha. Whatever is unfolding, Swagatam kuryat. Face it. That is just a stepping stone for me to evolve. Now, whoever, whatever is coming, I will do 100% justice as the very seva of my Narayana in that form. Whoever is your Ishtadevata, Narayana, Shiva, Devi, Jagadishwari, whoever it is in that form. Now, when even somebody with an inimical attitude towards you, when they look at how you are serving them, their enmity also will find not a grip. I've given you this example earlier. There was this Shiva Bhakta called Basavanna in Karnataka. There is a person that comes to kill him, and he was ostracized. But many of those people that were following him were really impacted by him, moved to the place where he was ostracized. The village became empty. So the villagers, those who were left in the village, disappointed, they hire a hitman to go finish him off. And this fellow does his Reiki and finds that those who are in that new ostracized place, everybody wears a Shivalinga, tied in a cloth, Shivalinga. So if he has to enter in, he also has to have it. So he picks up a stone, tears a piece of cloth, wraps it up and ties it. Night time, Basana is sleeping and he's about to kill him, but looking at his beautiful, pleasant face. So innocent it looking. He doesn't get the heart to kill him. As he is trying to leave that place, he stumbles upon a pot, the pot breaks, he wakes up. He falls, the fellow who has come to kill him falls on his feet and confesses that this is what I was being sent to. I have even done the wrong of picking a wayward stone and tying it to deceive people. Basavanna in return falls at his feet. In your form, now that Ishvara has come to teach me this subtle, beautiful message, that I used to feel that for the sanctity of that which I am giving to people to wear on their neck as Shivalinga for their Nitya Aradhana, I used to bring it from Kashi. Now you have taught me that as much as that stone from Kashi is sanctified, any stone is equally sanctified enough. Thank you for teaching me that. It becomes probably like the Japanese scenario wherein you bend down, the other fellow bends down, and now you bend down further down, the other fellow bends down further down. The Basavana is doing namaskara to this fellow killer, and the killer is further falling into his feet. Even in that state where somebody has come to kill him, there is no hatred. There is no jugupsa towards that person. Thank you for teaching me something beautiful. I failed to see this. Now Ishvara has come in your form to teach me this. What a beautiful message. And he goes into a meditative stupor right with that episode. Na koi dar, na koi dvesh. That is the beauty of Upasana. Now if the student that is there says, Guru Maharaj, हमसे ये भी मुश्किल होता है. Even this might be very difficult for us. And the Guru says, come tomorrow and we will conclude the Upanishad with the basic steps which are given at the very end of this Upanishad. That we will see tomorrow. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।